Hello everyone. I think we're live. We should be. Welcome everybody to Music Talk Live number 48. Amazingly enough, we're up to 48 and I see there's a few of you already in there. Hello, please join the chat room. Don't be shy if you're new. And I know there's quite a few of you who are new actually to this Saturday get together that we do. In case you're new, we just get together on Saturdays and I talk a little bit about guitar, but mainly it's just about anything. You know, you can ask me questions, we can talk about some gear maybe. Some people sometimes have questions about pedals, some people are getting started with recording and they need some advice, you know, whatever it is. If I can help you, I'll be happy to. And if I can't help you, I'll tell you if I don't know something. And usually we just talk about music and it kind of tends towards, you know, talking about theory and guitar technique and all that kind of stuff. If you're more into the teaching stuff, then you should check out Tuesdays. One chord a week. It's a series I do every Tuesday where I teach you one chord every Tuesday. And those I think are really cool videos, if I might say so myself. And then on Thursday, there's another series called the Theory Thursdays where I show you some theory concepts from very easy to very advanced. And that just started and it's proving to be, you know, very well received by you. So I'll keep doing it for at least a little while. And hello Desafinados. Hello, hello Reiki. Welcome. My face is like that every time I see the guitar finish. Oh, it's probably spoiled a little bit by the lights, but let me do it for you. Let me just give you the coup de grace here. There you go. Yes, it is a cool. Look at that. Now you can see it. Oh my God, look at that. And thank you, Alex. And now I see there's 0 people at the moment, but there's a chat room going on. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube. It's been weird for a couple of days. I hope the stream can go ahead properly. Please let me know if there's any problems, audio or video. Before we begin, let me thank all of you who have been supporting the channel because I know who you are and I don't want to give names out, but you know who you are. Thank you very much. If you're new, you want to check out how to do it, you don't have to, but if you want to, if you're appreciating the content, whatever it is, or just want to make sure that I keep doing it, there's a link down there to help out the channel with whatever you want or can, and you can use Super Chat if you want, because that's available. But enough of that. So, Alex, is your record out? Alex Desafinados here in the chat room. He's a great guitar player. A lot of you already know him, actually. His channel is way bigger than mine, actually, so it should be the other way around. You should promote me, Alex, not me, you. And besides having a cool YouTube channel, he's a great guitar player. Made an amazing cover of my song One. And speaking of the song One, I think a lot of you asked me to show you the 21 licks. You know, if you're new again, sorry for the old guys, but if you're new, I released a little book. It's a PDF and it's 100% free. Here's a little image for it. It's 21 licks. There are musical ideas and riffs and licks taken from songs, from my records, but you don't have to like my music. You know, you can just use this to learn technique. There's quite a bit of composition advice. There's different devices like rhythmic devices to, you know, to make your solos and your licks a bit more interesting and more musical. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and some of it you like a lot, I think. Some of it you like a little less, but it's still a very interesting, if I might say so myself, rundown of several different techniques and several different cool stuff you can do with the guitar. And actually it's my hope that you will actually take it further and you make much better music that I can make with this kind of devices. But you know, we all do what we can, and so I was thinking that maybe we could do one of these licks once in a while in the live streams. Today is not an option, it's not a democracy, so today I'm gonna do it. But then if you want me to keep doing it, please let me know, and maybe every week on Saturdays, maybe every other Saturday, I'll just pull up one from the book and I will show you how to play it. And you don't have to get the book if you don't want to. I have the tab, but it's much easier if you download the PDF and you just follow along. There's no need for anything. You don't have to give me your email. You don't have to do anything. Just download the PDF. It's in the description below, actually. It's called 21 Licks. All right, so why don't we get started with that? Are you cool with that, guys? If we look at one of the licks every week? And then you can ask questions, who knows, because we might get started with that lick and we might, you know, kind of continue on with other more interesting stuff. So for today, I kind of prepared that. Well, not prepared it, but at least I copied the tab here as an image. And now my face is gone. It's not like you're missing much. I think this is more interesting. But I suggest you follow along with the with the PDF, all right, instead of the screen. But you know, whatever works for you. So as you can see, in the book, I didn't give any specific advice as far as picking direction. I kind of kept it vague in respect to those who are not really fans of my music. So for me to go and tell you, here's the lick and here's how you play it, it was kind of against the philosophy of the book. The book was just about giving you some ideas that have worked for me because I use them in songs, and give a little bit of background, and that's it. So those licks are like for you to interpret any way you want, all right? And yes, you did learn it by ear. Well, you played it perfectly, so you don't have to worry about it. But and the other thing you have to keep in mind, I don't approach these licks as exercises because I play them differently every time. You know, because you can hit the notes a bit different. Maybe you want to do 2 downstrokes. You want to do 2 upstrokes. Maybe you want to play a bit more legato than picking, because it's music after all. It's not exercises. If you're into exercises, there's 2 books you can get down here in the description. Those are exercises, and they're great, of course, for what they are. But when it comes to music, I kept it a little vague. But today I will try to, you know, to the best of my abilities, tell you how I play, and things will change. But you know, and here's how I do it. All this stuff you see here, it's based on an idea that is to have a very simple rhythm. If you look at the subdivisions, they're all 16 notes, so there's no surprises here. Here's the first part. This is the second part. And it's all 16 notes, right? Except for maybe a little pause there, but it's really no big deal. It's all 16 notes. And so when you have all 16 notes, there is a risk of kind of everything sounding the same. And there's a few devices that you can use, but this is one of them. So I'm alternating between open strings and fretted notes. And the open strings are E and B. Hopefully you can hear that. And these notes are, of course, from the main key, which is E major. This is the main chord progression, so it's E to A to C sharp minor to B. Pretty simple stuff. But all these chords, they get different colors from having an extra B and an extra E. For example, the first E, well, this is supposed to be without distortion, but anyway, I have E major. And this E major, the B and the E are the third, I mean the root and the fifth of the chord, so these 2 strings don't really add much to the chord. But when I go to A, the B now is the 9th, so it's an add 9. And then when I go to C sharp minor, the B is a minor 7th. And then when I go to B, the E is a 4. So it all kind of glues it together in a way. And the reason it glues it together is because in the lick, I'm always playing those 2 open strings constantly. All right, so that's the first thing. So I'm making, in a way, the chords sound more complex and more rich harmonically by just having these 2 notes, right? The other thing I can use the open strings for is that these 2 open strings, if I bore you, please stop me, all right? Because I can talk about music for hours. But the other thing that I gain from using these 2 open strings is that because they meld with the chord, you know, they're soft over the chords, then I can use that as a rhythmic device. How? Well, when I play open strings, you don't really feel them. You don't feel any great tension, right? But when I play the extra notes, you can feel the notes over the chords. Now, when I play them together, the notes that are open strings, they really fall below the interest line. They fall below the actual fretted notes. And what you really hear is this. Now, this melody is nothing to write home about, but it's a good melody, but it's missing something, and it's missing any kind of rhythmic softness, right? The rhythm of it becomes overwhelming to the melody, if it makes any sense, because you get distracted. You get distracted by the constant you know, on and off switch that goes on in the melody. So when I play the open string, even if I'm playing the same thing, you hear now how everything starts moving at different levels. And then on top of that, you put the progression underneath, and you get this kind of a cool, neat melody that works. And it's all really simple, right? I'm playing basically a major scale. And that's it. But because of the melody and the intervention of these open strings, it works. The last thing is that if I play open strings which are neutral, open strings, as I said, over this chord sound pretty neutral. I can use different alternations between fretted notes and open strings to give a rhythmic interest to the melody. And if I show you again the melody here, but you should definitely download the PDF and follow along, you see that the fretted notes, the numbers that are not zeros, they're not at a constant intervals. So you have the 12, then you have 2 open strings, then 2 fretted notes, 1 open string, 2 fretted notes, 2 open strings, 3 fretted notes, 1 open string, and then a slide, you know, and then it keeps going and it changes all the time. And so that's a trick. The trick is that every time I repeat this simple melody, I can still get more and more interesting ideas behind it, because I'm taking full advantage of very simple devices, such as open strings, major scale, and some rhythmic considerations. So how do I play it? It's very simple. I almost always use alternate picking, but again, this is a song that I probably never played twice the same. But if I were to play like this right now without thinking too much, I would probably do something like this. And then when I get here, excuse me, let me give you the second part. When I get here, I play, and then I resolve to the E, and that's when the song starts and I can play my melody. And that's when the song starts, and the melody again, of course, is in E, and it's so simple, it's almost embarrassing now to talk about it, but it works. And the reason it works is because I'm using all possible devices. And that's it. If you have questions, I'll be happy to go deeper with it. And maybe one final thing, and please let me know what you think of it. Not if you like it, that's beyond my what I can worry about, but do let me know if there's anything you would like to go deeper with. But the other thing is that there's a contrast between the melody, which has longer notes, and very legato notes. Not legato in a technique, but legato in a sound fashion. So there's only no breaks between the notes. And it's a bit of a distinction from the riff. Even if I play very fluidly, it still sounds rich in rhythm, but the melody is really mellower. The melody goes down in intensity, it has longer notes, simpler intervals. So instead of playing all over the place, or these are strange intervals in a way, right? They're not common, but the melody goes back to something that's more linear, like this. See, all these notes, they're all like one after the other. There's no skips. If you see this as a pentatonic, there's no skips. It's really more melodic, but not that it's better, but it's more of a melodic way of approaching it. Whereas the other one is more rhythmic. Put them together and it works very well. And there's so many things we can talk about, but I just wanted to show you the lick. So if there's anything you want to know about this song, then I'll be happy to let you know. But so now you know how I play. You want me to play slower? I'll play a little slower for you, if I can remember it slow. It's not like that, is it? Got it. Like that. So you can see how I play with the open strings. And that's the other thing with intricate things, is that when you play them slow, they tend to fall apart a little bit. You can hear this in classical music as well, you know, a complex counterpoint or complex harmonies. When you play too slow, they fall apart. And then when you play them too fast, they get, you know, they get blurry. And so there's a certain speed that works for songs like this and for licks like this. And that's when both parts, both devices work together. So that's something that's very important. And there's not many of you today at this moment, but you're missing out because this is something very important. So when you use these kind of devices, you have to really look at the speed or the tempo of your song, and you'll always find a very tiny little window. It's a very narrow thing. Maybe, I would say probably 4 BPMs where it works, where it just works. And too fast and it falls apart, too slow, it falls apart too. And so that's something you should certainly keep in mind when you do your own music. I thought that was played using legato for some of the notes. It looked far easier to me. It is easier with legato, you can do it, you know. But to me, rhythmically, it's more... I don't know, but you know, whatever you want to play it like. That's why I didn't go into too much detail in the PDF. You know, it's just ideas, you can do whatever you want. At least for the open strings. Actually, a lot of it is actually picking. I tend to pick those notes. Because also the chord progression is very mellow. It's mellow and the chords flow one into the other. And so for contrast, you can use picking on the riff, on the lick. And that's also something you should always keep in mind when you play. You don't have to do it, but you should be aware of it. The importance of all different tools. Like, for example, if you were looking at a painting, right, you would have probably, not always, right, but you'll have a point of interest, maybe lighter, you know, with more defined edges. There's edges there that are clear. And then there's other areas that are, you know, they're more in a blur kind of depiction. Maybe they're darker, and even when they're darker here, they might get lighter there, and maybe there is one stroke that's not as blurry as the other one or soft as the other one, and that will kind of be used to lead you back to the center of interest. And in music is the same thing. In music, you're always aware of, you know, of the structure of the melody of the song, and it can go, you know, it can go big, like you can think of that for the whole song. So maybe you have the chorus might be your center point, and then everything else tends to, you know, lead you toward the chorus. But you could also look at it in a micro aspect, right? So you could look at it from a melody standpoint. So you have a melody, and you're like, okay, well, in this melody, there's this, this, and this, right? So those are my strong points of the melody. For example, the rhythmic interest of the melody is this. Then what do I do with the other part, right? So in this case, if my melody is very rhythmic, I might want to cool it, you know, kind of cool off with the chords for a little while, you know, let them be mellow. And so there's different levels, there's depth and there's wideness in what you do musically. At least that's how I look at it. But it's I often think of music, actually composition to me is very much like a painting, actually. You know, we all use the same tricks, and it's something you can keep in mind. So if you ever find a song that is a good song but it doesn't quite work, then you can explore these things, you know, speed and contrast between fast and slow. Again, you can have a fast chorus and a slow verse, but you could also have a fast lick over something that's not as fast, right? You might not want to put all that speed stuff at the same time, because first of all, it can get confusing, but also where are you going to go from there, right? What's the evolution of that? And so on. There's many things you can look at that way. And in some of these 21 licks that we'll talk about, we can discuss it if you want. I don't know if you guys are getting bored or not, but that's a problem. I always have this problem. When I start talking about music, it's over, you know. And but I'll still give you some advice again, because you don't seem to be too mad about it. So I'll give you another example. If I can, oh yeah, for example, I said that I never played this song the same way twice. As a matter of fact, this song, I think it was the first take. I recorded it, sounded good, that's it. And then every time I play it live, this is one of the songs that I always have to play. So I play live and I go, okay, maybe I change a little something and I change a little something. And it's totally free. You can do that with this song. I can probably play everything a little bit different and it still works as long as I respect the melody. Other things, other kind of licks and riffs, you can't. You know, they fall apart right away. If I play them a bit sloppier, if I play them a little bit playing with the tempo, with the timing, if I play with different cadences, they fall apart and they don't work. And there's a few of them actually. I think the second one in the book is the Planet 9 thing. We'll look at that maybe. If you enjoy me showing you these licks during the Saturday stream, next week we can look at Planet 9. That's played, you know, very precisely. Any mistake in the song or anything you kind of play just to play without full intention, it really destroys the song. So you never know. It's something you have to always keep in mind. And it worries me more than many other technical things that I don't really care about. You know, I'm not really into that. But the strength of the music is something I'm totally concerned with. Anyway, so that was it. That was lick number 1. And I don't feel like making a video for each of these licks, so I thought we would do it live. All right? So if you have any questions about this song or anything else, let me know. And in the meantime, I'll have a sip of tea because I talk too much and then my throat hurts. So let me just mute the microphone. Okay. And what else? Oh, actually, you know what? While I wait for your questions, look at this. This is something you should all be doing, actually. You know, when you throw away old toys and, you know, all kinds of weird stuff you don't need? Look at what I found here. A bunch of switches, 2 speakers, bed speakers. But, you know, the switches, there's inputs, all wired up. There's LEDs. There's buttons that will trigger just by touching them. So imagine you could plug this into some kind of an instrument and you have 7 notes at your fingertips. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, and they are absolutely, you can find them everywhere. You know, look at this switch. You touch it and it activates. So it's very simple, but you can use it in all kinds of DIY things. And I use this to build strange controllers and musical instruments. I don't know. It was just some toys, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. Some condensers you can use in your amps and in your pedals, you know? So don't throw away stuff without opening it up first. All right, so my part of the video is done today. I'm open to your questions. And by the way, have you checked out the 1 chord a week? Tomorrow, no, on Tuesday, I think it's sus4. sus4 is a great chord, and it's one you should certainly check out. And it has this beautiful sound. Used to resolve, among other things. And the minor 7/5 we looked at last week. So I don't know, just go check out those videos, because there's some really cool sounds that you should explore. Anyway, the chat is a bit dead today, but please do post your questions. I don't know if there's anything wrong, actually, because it's weird that I don't see anything. This has never happened, actually, so let me see, let me just try something. Because I've been having problems with the network for the past week, and it seemed to be working, but I've been having issues uploading the Thursday video. I've had issues with actually running a network that I use here for certain controllers, and I was a bit worried about today's video, so I'm not sure you're actually getting this. But anyway, let me know please if you are, and if you have any questions. And one more thing I might start doing is some random streams. So those will be, of course, random. I have no idea when or where, but it's possible that I'll log on once in a while, because I'll be doing some work, studio work, also as far as set up, you know, inputs, outputs, plugging it in, using patch bays, redoing a lot of the wiring for the studio, and I think it's something that it might be useful. I've been getting a lot of questions actually about studio setup. people seem to be very confused as to what they need, what they don't need. I've had issues with people confusing sound insulation from sound treatment of the room. So actually, you know, keeping noise out is totally different from everything else. You know, keeping noise out is nothing to do with the room sounding like sounding properly. And had a student online, one of my online students in Singapore, went to the store. They sold him I don't know how many, I don't know the chain, but he said it was a lot of money, like 2 months salary, in stuff that he doesn't need, because they told him that it would fix his problem with his neighbors. Nothing will fix the problem with your neighbors unless you do construction. And so at that point, I tried to help him out. You know, he could return everything. But, you know, any questions you have of that kind, I will try to answer whenever you want, but I will be logging on and do random streams when I'm actually working on it, so you can see it, right? Of course, this will be just, you know, wide strokes, right? When I can't give you all the details on a live stream, but it will probably help you out a little bit. But make sure you don't go, as a matter of fact, I can tell you this, don't ever go to a store and tell them, I want my room to sound better, sell me stuff. Don't do that. You know, you can get some books. I think I showed you a couple of books last week or 2 weeks ago. You can get, at least go online to a proper, you know, to a good forum. There are some people who know what they're talking about. Most don't, as a matter of fact. Even on YouTube, I've been sent some links by students saying, should I do this, should I do that? And I don't want to blame the guy making the video, but I think YouTube might not be the platform. You can't go through all the details, but there's things you can do. There's a guy called Bobby Osinski. He's made quite a few books, and I know that there's a video of him talking about insulation in room treatment. He's talking about it in I think it's a music school, so he's doing a little presentation. That one you can trust. You can trust him. You can trust a guy called Jeff Cooper, made a book. You can trust a guy called, I think, Ray Gervais is the book I told you about last week. He has a great book about you know, proper studio building. And the thing is, don't be scared, because a lot of these books go actually into detail about how to build a studio. So some section of the book might be actually pouring concrete, you know, destroying the walls you have to make new ones. But a lot of it actually is, you're able to apply to your own situation. So at least one of these two books, I would say the Jeff Cooper book or the Gervais book, which is called Building Your Home Studio. I will get back to you with that one. I just got it. I actually read it, but I dove in so quickly I didn't look at the cover, but that's like a must. And you know, I've been reading that kind of books for like 10 years now. I built this studio. I've built another one before. I'm going to set up something new that I'll show you eventually. And it's very important. It's very important that you know what you're doing. Please, before you go to a store and buy stuff. The only thing that fixes neighbors is moving, or them moving, right? But you know, there's things you can do, but you have to exactly know what you're doing. If it's your house, for example, you might get away with not too much work and get some pretty good results. You might not be able to play drums at 3 in the morning, but you will be able to kind of, you know, get along with the neighbors. Please do research over the internet. I just spent $150 for acoustic treatment and achieved amazing results. $250. Well, $250 sounds reasonable, you know, depending on your room. And as long as it's treatment, you can probably get away with just doing it yourself too. You know, if it's isolation, then you have to kind of probably put it in somebody's hands. But you know what? A lot of people who do construction, they don't know about this. They don't know, because for them, you know, like small details. Like, for example, one thing that happens often, I had that experience here in my studio, and they knew what they were doing. This was a company that could actually do this. They did studios and TV plateaus and all that stuff. But if you think about this, right, you have you have the concrete floor or whatever it is. We're not going to get into the details. And then you have the wall, right, the gypsum board, called pladur here in Spain and Europe, but it's gypsum board. It's just a board. And usually behind it you'll find the insulation. So that stuck to these aluminum or wooden posts. So if that doesn't touch 100% the floor, right, is not in contact 100%, and even maybe caulked with acoustic material, then you'll have an issue with a little gap like this, right? Between the floor and the boards. Now, multiply that little centimeter or whatever it is at 2 millimeters or 3, multiply it by the length of the 4 walls. And then maybe by 2, because if they've done it at the bottom, they might have probably done it at the top too, at the ceiling, because that's actually how people get lazier. The higher they go, they have to get on the ladder, and maybe they go, okay, that's good enough, and they leave it open. So multiply that. That might be equal to having a wall like this in one of your walls. I'm sorry, having a hole like this in one of your walls, right? Right? You go like this, you make it very small, spray it out, and you might have a hole like this in your wall, and you don't even know it because it's hidden, because it's just a little tiny gap between your boards and the floor. That alone, unless you're there checking, you'll have issues with. And so the problem is most people go like, okay, do the work and I'll come back when you're done. And you'll never know. So you spend a lot of money doing something that really doesn't do much, because it's like water. If something fails, sound will go out from the easiest possible route. So if you leave that open, sound will go out. People have problem with doors. They spend a lot of money on doors, and the bottom of the door, there's a little gap. So that gap has to be closed. A lot of doors come with a little rubber thing that when you open it, comes up. When you close the door, it goes down. And it seems stupid, but that actually keeps in, I don't know how many decibels, but it's pretty big. And it's always small increments, all kinds of stuff. I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's so many things you can do. As a matter of fact, think of this. You have board, insulation, board, air, board, insulation, board. So 2 walls. Imagine you're building 2 walls because you heard that 2 walls is better than 1, right? So you build 1 wall, which is gypsum board or pladur if you're from Europe, gypsum board, insulation, and another board. You leave an air gap because you read somewhere that air is good, and it is. And then you have gypsum board, insulation, and gypsum board. Now, if you were to take out this one, take out the gypsum board and take out this one, so leave board, insulation, air, insulation, board. That's a lot better than the previous one. So you take out those boards and it will keep in, I think the index goes up by 7 points. Then take those 2 boards that you took out and put them on the outside. So double board, insulation, air, insulation, double board, and you've gone up another 7 or 5 points or whatever it is. Same amount of money, but once you do the wrong way, that's it, there's no going back. What are you gonna do? Put it all apart, take it all apart and then put it back together? Who's going to do that? How much are they going to charge you? So that's the thing that I see all the time, and I try not to fall for that when I'm doing my work. But you have to be on top of people, because to them they might even actually be doing you a favor. They're like, oh, there's 2 boards, let's put them this way because 2 is better than 1. No, as a matter of fact, 1 is better than nothing. Nothing is better than 1, depending on where you put them. So it's crazy, but it's true. Isolation is quite scary and expensive. That thing about build a room inside another room and all those things. Yeah, actually that's not as complicated. If you have if you own a house, it's not as bad, especially if it's, if you don't have anyone beneath you, you could actually probably get away with just pouring another concrete over the one you have and then mount 3 walls over the new concrete. You lose, the thing with isolation is you lose space, because a lot of it you have to leave a 5 centimeter gap or 2 inches, or 1 inch, depends, but you have to leave some air, and then insulation is usually like this, and then the boards. So the thing is, sometimes you start with a bad room, a small room, and you have to make it smaller, and that also presents some issues. Depending on the cubic feet of a room, you'll have different problems. So if you have a room big enough, actually, if you can do it in your living room, if nobody in the family is gonna get pissed at you for that, the living room, if it's big enough, you have to calculate the cubic feet. You might actually get away with doing almost nothing as far as making it sound good. When you have a small room, and if it's a cube, you all know about the cube. If your room is a cube, forget it. There's pretty much, you can use it, but it's almost impossible to make it sound better. If you have a different kind of room, so the bigger the room, the better. There's all kinds of stuff, and it's not difficult, but it's something that most people don't know, and certainly not people I don't want to speak for all people, but not a lot of people who work in music stores, because there's not that expertise. Their expertise is the gear. Maybe they sell the gear and they do that. And you know, I know it because I worked at a music store, and not a lot of people seem to know anything about anything other than selling gear. So living in a flat sucks. It's a bit frustrating because playing loud feels much better for hearing the guitar dynamics. Oh yes, that's a thing. Also the volume, I think people go overboard a little bit. I tend to never go above 85 dBs, which is loud, but it's not very loud. And the other thing about playing softer levels is that the room, you know, the room gets, think of the room as a drum, and so it gets excited by vibration. So, you know, everything starts moving, and that's when and bouncing around, and that's how you get problems. And so having the speakers playing at low volume really limits the amount of excitement of the environment. And so the worse the room, the lower you should monitor what you do. Sometimes you can maybe wear your headphones, you know, get some feedback at higher volumes, which is not really good for your hearing anyway. But you can do that, you know, play low volumes, and then maybe once or twice you really need to, you can turn it up and screw the neighbors, right, for just a few minutes. I don't think it's a problem. Depending on what time of day, you might be able to get away with it. But for the most work, for most work, you should take care of your ears. Also because not just for ruining them, but because hearing at low volumes, you can kind of almost get everything out of you know, if you're mixing at low volumes, you can feel for punch and for the right amount of compression, EQs. Stereo field is a bit easier when you play a lower volume. But when you turn it up too loud, and your room especially is not perfect, then everything gets smeared. So your stereo location of things and your feel for that really gets into trouble unless you have a properly treated room. You'll have problem with certain frequencies at high volume responding too loud. And if you can't trust the room, it's just not worth it. It's better to just bring it down a bit. Excuse me. Bring it down and work at a lower level. I probably go around 60 or 70. And guitar string sounds are quite present. Yeah, there's, you know, some things you want to turn it up, but not many. There's not many things you'll gain any advantage. A lot of great mixers, they work at conversation volume. So I would probably say 75 dBs. That's plenty. And most of them say, if I can't hear my assistant typing, a lot of people say that. If they can't hear the typing noise on the computer, it's too loud. And if they have to scream at each other, too loud. Have you heard about, hello Manas, have you heard about Messiaen mode of limited transposition? What is it about? Well, I've heard something about it. I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't want to give you the wrong advice. There's all kinds of names. That's another thing. There's all kinds of names for all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I learned that when I went to India and I studied Indian music. And, you know, after 5 minutes, I'm like, well, all of these scales are like basic modes and other modes of different scales. And so I know there's a few things. It's kind of, who did that? Did Rick Beato make a video of it? Because a couple of students asked me about it. And I know a lot of people follow him. And one of them, I think, mentioned it. And I haven't watched this, so I don't know exactly what it is. But I think it's about a composer, right, who devised certain things. It happens with all of them. That's why you shouldn't take anything too seriously. Like Schoenberg is an authority, but, you know, has his opinion. Some people say that he's went overboard with being so square about certain things, about, for example, resolutions of the diminished chord, about the use of the diminished chord. And so, but it's great. Yeah, if you know anything about it, please tell me, and then I'll make sure to study on it. Right now, actually, my studies right now, I'm playing a lot, and for proper studying, I'm studying another book on, it's like 600 pages or 700, on, what do you call it, classical form, so composition and form in classical music. It's a big book. It's a big book, but it's interesting because I'm really trying to expand on the songwriting thing, but not just songs, for soundtrack stuff and for can't talk about that yet, but and also for more of the other kind of music that I do sometimes that never published, but for my own enjoyment. And so yeah, but please, if you have any information about that, please let me know. All right. Let's see. So what have you guys been up to this weekend, or what are you gonna do this weekend? A lot of us actually now they were freer than before. We can go out. I know those of you who are in the States, you can go out without a mask. That's cool. I think only if you've been vaccinated. I think I might get the vaccine in about 2 or 3 weeks. That's what they're saying. And some of my friends already got it. They're good. You know, nothing happened to them. And hopefully we'll be able to travel soon. I don't know, maybe middle of summer. I hope we can start moving around. But at least we can now travel to we can travel all across Spain. I can't travel to other countries though, unless you do the test and you're quarantined still for 10 days there, and then quarantine here. So you probably waste like a month just at home in between trips. So it's just not worth it. I'm dying to go back to New York. I have some things that I would love to do there and I can't. But who knows? Maybe soon. And hopefully soon I'll be able to get together with a band again, rehearse, and then as soon as they open the clubs and the bars and not the bars, but clubs and stages, go back out and play live. So any questions? Can I help you with anything about guitar or gear? Do you have any questions except for the Messiaen mode of limited transposition, which I'm not an expert on, so I won't get into it. As I always say, that I will not teach you stuff that I'm not sure about, because that would make me a bit of an asshole, wouldn't it? You guys trust me, and then so I stay away from things that I'm not 100% sure of. But anything else you need help with the guitar, let me know. And then I will surprise you one of these days with, I have to move some stuff, pack it, unplug it, write everything down where everything is plugged into. And I'll do a live stream on that. All right, so if there's no questions, then we'll just make it a short video today. It's okay. 45 minutes I think is enough anyway, but I'll wait 2 more minutes if you guys don't have any more questions. I'm glad we talked about the room treatment thing, because that's something it's fascinating to me. The physics of it. If you get into the physics, it's crazy. Like you can have a wall. I'm sorry to be going on about this, but if you have a wall that is perfectly treated and you think it's keeping everything in, and then one specific frequency just go right through it. It goes right through it almost as if there was no wall at all. Isn't it crazy? Hello, Marcus. What is my favorite advanced guitar theory book? All right, so, well, most of them are not guitar, but it doesn't matter, right? Because music theory is music theory. So I will give you my favorite theory books, yeah? I would say, let me think about it. I do enjoy, I like to take your questions seriously, so let me just give me a minute. All right, well, for guitar actually, I would certainly have a look at Mick Goodrick's The Advancing Guitarist. That's not strictly a theory book, so that's the first thing that comes to mind, but it's not strictly theory, but it's a book you should get, because it really is theory and it is practice all in one, and the practice makes you a better makes you understand theory better. So that book you should get. Then I would probably look at in no particular order, right? For theory in general, I think you can't go wrong with Schoenberg's Theory of Harmony, or Piston's Harmony book, or Persichetti, which I think is called 20th Century Music Theory book or something like that. So those three are, one of those, you don't have to buy all of them. You can get one of those and dive deep into it. Those will take you months to figure out. If you do it properly with, writing down all the exercises, understanding everything before you continue, that takes months. As a matter of fact, if you don't have the time, I suggest you go through those with a teacher. All right. Then there's another one that's Mark Levine. It's called Jazz Theory, and that's a great one for more modern stuff. And I can vouch for that book. It's a great book. Again, it's not the simplest of all, and if you're not into jazz, it does give a lot of examples that are from jazz music, but it doesn't matter. It teaches you all kinds of chords. It teaches you a lot of scales. It teaches you, and you can, and it gives you names and of songs and artists, and you can just listen to it. It's not like you have to play them, although they're written out on a piano, but you can just listen to the records. That's a great book. It's called Jazz Theory by Mark Levine. He has two books. One is called Jazz Theory, and the other one is called Piano Jazz. They're kind of the same thing. I would go with just the Jazz Theory one. So those are the three that I can think of right now that are probably the most important ones. And there's many more. I probably have 20 or 30 books on theory, but I would say any by Schoenberg, not any of them, sorry, Schoenberg's Theory of Harmony, or Walter Piston's Harmony, or Persichetti's 20th Century Music book. And then get Mick Goodrick's Advancing Guitarist, and which one did I say? The other one. Which one was it? Didn't I just say three of them? Well, the last one I talked about, right? Oh, Mark Levine's Jazz Theory. All right, Marcus, that's my suggestion. Good question. So, good question. If you have any more questions, now is the time before I log off. That's right, Jazz Theory by Mark Levine. You're welcome. All right, so no more questions? Well then, I will just see you on, oh, there you go. I heard about some of these. I'm about to buy some of them. Yes, it's very tempting to get a bunch of them, but truthfully, if you just pick, for example, whatever, if you pick the Schoenberg one, I would get the Goodrick one anyway, because it's very much based on practice, all right? So I wouldn't mind getting Goodrick. If you were my students, I would say get Goodrick, but then kind of pick and choose one of the others. Don't buy a lot of them, because if you buy, Piston and Schoenberg will take you a long time to go through, and you have questions, And the Mark Levine also, because reading a book is not the same as really learning it and practicing it, and theory is one of those things that you have to. For example, Schoenberg, I copied every single example in the book, by hand, and it sounds stupid, but you really understand things when you're actually writing them down. And then I would write variations for it, and it's intense. Some of these books are intense. I would start with one. I bought all Schoenberg's books at once. It took me months to go through them, but if you're not that sure, just get Goodrick maybe and one of the others. If you're into modern music, I think Mark Levine is very good, but Mark Levine maybe he will tell you things like how they are already, so he will present the things as they are. Schoenberg is a little bit more on the why things are. So sometimes actually his explanations are personal. So he says, I think the reason we started using these kinds of intervals is because the first music that was made was very simple, based on simple intervals, but then this came in and the other. So it goes way deeper into why things are working that way, and the issues that certain uses of music theory I've had. Like he's really against people using the diminished chord just to use it. You know, he explains how you should look at that chord. Mark Levine is more on here's the diminished chord, here's how you use it, and then go and have fun. So, you know, depending on what kind of student you are, you might pick one or the other, but you can't go wrong with any of them. And that's it. And then, you know, for guitars, strictly speaking, guitars, you should get maybe, I don't know, depend what you like. If you like chords, you can get Ted Green's guitar, Chord Alchemy. You can get Chord Chemistry. Did I say Chord Alchemy? Chord Chemistry by Ted Green. You can get, you know, there's all kinds of stuff. I won't get into that though. I will make you spend a lot of money if I do. All right. So as always, I'll wait for about 30 seconds because I know there's a bit of a delay in the chat. And then we'll, unless there's more questions, we'll adjourn to next week. Tuesday, there's a new chord, is the sus4 chords. And for Thursday, I will try to record a new Theory Thursday video, which seemed to be very useful for a lot of people. Well, not a lot of people, actually, some people. Oh, by the way, as soon as we hit 9,000 subscribers, which given the numbers on this channel might take years, we're only 25 subscribers or something, 20 subscribers away from 9,000. As soon as we hit 9,000, which might be in a week or it might be in a year, because this channel is just, you know, it takes a long while to get anything done here as far as YouTube goes. But at 9,000, I said last week, and I repeat now, that we'll do a little, some kind of competition, but not really. I just pull a name out of the hat, and I'll give you a free lesson online, okay? Like just as if you were one of my students. So you can ask me anything you want, and I will try to help you out. In that time, I will just do everything I can to put you on the right track. If there's anything you need to learn, or if there's anything you need to get deeper with, if there's anything you need help with, I'll treat you as one of my students, all right? So that's kind of the giveaway for 9,000. When we get to 10,000, we'll see. That will be like 20 years. Maybe there's no YouTube then, so we don't have to worry about it now. But as soon as we hit 9,000, I'll figure out a way to do a little giveaway for you guys, all right? So it seems like that's it. We've been going for about an hour, I think, or something like that. So Akash, hello Akash, that would be great. Oh yeah, that's happening. That's happening. The only thing is, I could do it right now, but you know, what is it? 8,980 subscribers is not like a round number. So we'll just wait for 9,000. 9,000 seems like a good number. I was gonna do 10,000. I'll be honest with you. You know I don't bullshit around. I was gonna go 10,000 when I started back with the channel a few months ago. I decided to get back into YouTube. I said as soon as we hit 10,000, which is gonna be no time at all, I'll do a cool giveaway and we'll do this and that. And then, you know, I realized this is gonna take longer than I thought. So we'll do 9,000. 9,000 is good, and take it with a bit of irony, which is always good. You know, a bit of humor. And I just wanted to do something for you guys because I really appreciate you wanting to learn. That's the main thing. Beyond the channel, beyond all the bullshit YouTube stuff, if people like you or not, it doesn't matter. But I really appreciate there's people out there in this world of just basically shitty pop music, not all of it, you know, but a lot of it, and all kinds of non-musician stuff, which I also enjoy. But it's good to know that there's this underground of people who are interested enough in learning music and learning guitar that they log on a Saturday at 6:30 p.m. or whatever time it is in your neck of the woods, and they listen to an asshole like me talk about music for all these hours and watch all the videos, trying to get just a little bit better at playing guitar. And so that's what really motivates me. And that's what I want to thank you for, because without you guys, when we get older, then there's nothing left. Who's going to play the guitar, and who's going to teach it, and who's going to bring it forward, right? So it's great. It's really cool that you are here. And so I will teach you whatever I know in that private lesson we'll do, all right? I will hit more than 10,000 within this year. I wish it was so, Akash. I think from the way my YouTube statistics look, it's not gonna happen. But hopefully it's not because of the quality of the videos, but it's because of the nature of YouTube. I think it's a bit out of hand. There's so much stuff being uploaded, and there's just so much you can do. I think there is a way to hit 10,000 by the end of the year, and that's me starting opening boxes and go like, oh my god, a new pedal, and doing stupid reaction videos, and what else, you know, and just talk about gear all the time, which you don't need, instead of music and knowledge and theory and technique and all the stuff which we do need. So I could maybe, I don't want to speak too highly of myself, but I might, you know, I could be able to build a channel that gets a lot of subscribers, but for what? You know, for selling you gear, you know, I'm just not into it. My real students, my true students in person and online, you know, people who see me as their teacher, I always tell them, stop worrying about the pedal. The pedal doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything what pedal you're using. I understand that it's interesting and it's fun, and it's certainly something you know, I have nothing against it, but the pedal, the guitar, the amp, the strings you use, and the picks you use, none of that is going to make you a better player. None of it. You're never going to play the way you want to play with that. You'll play the way you want to play by playing and by doing the right thing at the right time and progressing, you know, with things that are pertinent to your current level and to your current needs. That's all. And so that's what I think. And coming on YouTube saying, if you buy this pedal, you sound like this and that, I can't. So Akash, I really appreciate your faith in my numbers on YouTube, but if I keep doing things the way I'm doing them, it's gonna be hard going for, you know, to reach a lot of subscribers. Just want you to know I'm so beyond grateful for all the videos that you're putting out. Well, that's great. Thanks, Akash. That's very cool to hear. And yeah, I seem to be making a lot of videos. Maybe I'm making too many, you know, and who knows, maybe slowly we'll as soon as, you know, one chord a week goes until the fall. It will be over in October, I think. And this Theory Thursdays thing, we'll see how it goes. If people like it, I'll keep doing it. If not, then I'll stop, and maybe it will be a streaming thing and we'll just talk about music, you know, and that's it, you know. But that's very much appreciated, Akash. So there are limits to what I can do on YouTube, of course. Because I understand, we talked about this before, I understand that YouTube is great, but there's no promises I can make here, right? I can't promise you that you learn things I'm showing on YouTube, because it's not the way teaching works. Teaching is something different. But, you know, even if it's just motivation, then it's fine by me. As long as it's not fucking motivating you to go out and buy a new pedal when you have 15 overdrives and you think the next one is going to make you sound better. It's not. It's just going to sound like another overdrive. If I plugged in my 2 or 3 overdrives and switch between them, you won't even know which one is which. And then blind test between an 808, another 808, another 808, and another 808, and another 808, and they all have the same chips and they have everything, but one has this brand of resistors and the other one has this brand of condenser. It doesn't make, it might make a difference, but who cares? Who cares, right? You want to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan? Pick any of those. Stop talking about tube screamers and go out and get anything, any guitar, plug it into any amp, play 15 hours a day, and you get there. That's it. That's the truth. Everything else is bullshit. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. And all my friends and people I know who are incredible musicians, world-renowned musicians, idols of other guitar players and drummers and bass players and singers. Some of singers, like the luminaries of rock and metal singers. You know, I'm lucky enough, and you know, one of them is one of my best friends ever, you know, in my life. He's older than me, but he's like, to me, he's been a mentor in a way, and a great friend, and almost like family. And all you have to do is sing. There's nothing else. What does it matter what microphone you use? You know Brian Johnson from AC/DC? He goes into the control room with a Shure SM58, speakers blaring, and he sings into it. You know, and people are like on forums going like, should I get a Neumann this and a Neumann that? By all means, get the Neumann. I'm not against gear, as you can tell, but it's not what you're trying, you know, that's not how you're going to improve. You will be motivated by it. You will improve your recording technique. Of course, I'm all for it. But YouTube has become, unfortunately, this thing where it's all about showing gear. It's like gear. Not all of it, of course. There's some great channels that I'm more than happy to go there and thank these people who make videos about the stuff they're showing and all that. But usually, and I don't even blame the YouTubers. You know, if you want to make a living with YouTube, then you do what you have to do. And if you have to do videos on gear where you tell people how great the gear is and why they'll be much better musicians if they buy it, fuck it, do it. But as a viewer, then you have to know its place. The place for that kind of video is entertainment. It's entertainment. It's not nothing else. And this too, I'm not purporting to be giving you the secrets of music here. I just show you a few things that I think are interesting. But so yeah, sorry. I get carried away because I get people here, and YouTube before it was a new thing, but now it's been going on for so long that I get students, they come in and like, well, I've been learning on YouTube and they know this there and this and that, nothing is related, and they have a bunch of gear, they come in with 4 guitars, and which one should I use for pentatonics? Who cares what guitar you use for pentatonics? Get whatever guitar you got and play and learn things and get something somebody you trust if you need somebody. Maybe you don't need somebody. Maybe you're like me, I play 13 hours a day for 20 years, then you might find your way by yourself. If you need somebody, you'll find somebody who will tell you the truth with it, which is that if I give you homework for next week and you don't do it, I will give you the same lesson again. Because you might hate me today, you might think you're wasting money, and you might think, oh well, he's lazy and he doesn't want to give me a new lesson because he's saving his secrets. And I'm not saving any secrets. If I tell you that you have to learn the major scale, you know how many times I taught the major scale? You think I'm having fun teaching you the major scale? I don't care what I'm teaching you. When you teach, the only thing you care about is that you learn things. Now, if I tell you learn the major scales, you go home and you learn the major scale. You come next week, you don't know the major scales, you're going to do it again. And then you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it for 6 months if you have to. When you know the major scales, I know that I can throw at you all kinds of stuff. And there's always a step back which you'll be comfortable with, and you'll be able to learn all kinds of stuff. That's what you need if you need a teacher. If you don't need a teacher, you don't need it. But if you need one, that's a good teacher. YouTube is not a place for teacher. YouTube is a place for selling you stuff, but I don't want to be cynical, so YouTube is a place for finding inspiration, finding motivation. Maybe you see somebody with Marshalls and you go like, I'm becoming motivated by doing something that will allow me to use those things for work maybe, right? And then you whatever it is, or maybe you have a bunch of money, you go out and buy them. I've got nothing against it. Only when it becomes confused between you teaching or learning and getting somewhere with YouTube. That's why I'm skeptical about this channel going very far. And I already thought about it. It's not nothing I haven't thought about. I know it's a lot of work on my part, and is it worth it? But no, monetarily not. But maybe for now, at least, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the fact that maybe I don't want to be, arrogant about it, but and I'm sure there's people who do what I do much better out there on YouTube, but still, people can come here and get some information on music, and yeah, that's the reason, and I make sure that everything I say on this channel I know, or at least to the best of my abilities, and that's it. The day you see me opening boxes, you'll know why I'm doing it, which I don't say I'll never do it. Maybe I did it for Palmer. Palmer is one of my endorsers. And I always tell them, if there's anything you need me to do, I'll do it. But it's clear what I'm doing. I use the gear. If I don't use it, I don't show it. Parkers, you see me do videos on Parkers. I've done videos on Parkers after Parker closed. I did them when I was an endorser, and I did it. You still see me use my Parkers all the time. And Parker doesn't exist anymore. I might do that in the future. And if it helps the channel and if it helps keep the lights on and the gear going, I might do it. But never will be confused with teaching stuff. Never. So you can, if I ever do that, you can point me back to this video and tell me, you know what, you lost your way because that's what you said. I don't think it's gonna happen though. It's something, it's way deep into my mind. All right, so sorry about that. You get me started on these rants and then, but thank you. Your channel is gold for these underground musicians, as you call them. Well, thank you, and amen, Alex. All right, so sorry about that. That was a bit of a rant, and it's probably not going to be the last one because I do get worked up a little bit about it. People spend, anyway, enough for today. So yeah, I'll see you next week, but I will be here on Tuesday again for the 1 quarter week, and Thursday I'm thinking of doing a cool little video on music theory, and if you want, you can check them out. Maybe what you can do, if you want to, maybe spread the word a little bit out there and let people know that this channel exists if you want. If you don't want, that's fine too, because it doesn't matter, we're still here every Saturday, 6:30. I'll see you next week then. Be safe, You know, there's only a couple of weeks more to hang in there for. If you're in England, you're probably almost out there, doing normal life. In America too, I'm so happy for you. If you're in India, please, all my friends in India, I know there's a lot of you who follow the channel, but for the time difference, you're not here right now. You know, be safe. It's not worth it. Just be safe. Hang in there for a few weeks. You'll get vaccinated, you know, all this stuff. It will get better. So take care of yourself, because I know there's a lot of you from that part of the world who follow the channel. All right? Everyone, have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Anything else you need, use the comments and all the cool stuff. Bye-bye.